Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to take you through some breathing strategies to really kind of improve our mobility outcomes that we do right after it. So the first thing that we want to address is thinking about what does an extension posture look like. So what we're really talking about is the idea of having the ribs flared up. So if we want to use the scissor analogy, ribs are up here and then pelvis is pointed down there. This needs to close. The other thing that this is going to be really crucial for is someone who might have one side of the rib cage really open and the other one closed, which is going to be very common, especially on the right side, with the left side being kind of open. Now, when we see this in a posture picture and it's really obvious, this is going to be a really good strategy for them, because if we just take them into a hip IR, any type of 90-90 regression, most likely they are very limited in IR, and then when we actually find a regression that matches their range of motion, what's going to happen is they're often going to end up with a closing angle pain, maybe they get some knee pain on the inside, and it really all starts off with, until we really get this relationship right, this femur right here is only going to go so far. So that's why we're really starting with this. So for anybody with a huge asymmetry, we can cue it a little bit differently. So maybe if someone, let's use the example of left side's up, we're going to really cue a little bit differently to get the ribs down on that side. Anybody that has a really, really big extension deficit where their ribs are totally up, maybe I even cue them to flatten their back out and really try to get into the other side of it where they're almost flexing a little bit. So let's actually set up the position. You're going to need something like this. This could be a foam roller, anything really. I do love the ball, or any type of ball, even like a little soccer ball, because what that does is it really allows you to squeeze a little bit. Now, the other key considerations with this are how big or how wide the ball matters. So for example, if you have someone in more hip adduction where their knees are closer together, they're probably going to get even more into a closing angle pinch, because as the femur internally rotates, that's that closing side. So if I close down the closing side before I even try to do some internal rotation, keep that in mind, meaning maybe just getting this to be a little bit wider could be something that sets them up for success. Now, the other consideration is not having anything to actually rest your feet on. So making it a little bit more active. We chose this definitely because I'm talking, but what I wouldn't want you to do is not have the feet on something. It's not like it's not an option, but at the same time, if we're working on connecting the hip to the actual foot, it's probably a good idea to get that feedback off of the wall. That way you can think about, instead of just contracting hamstring and glute or any of that stuff, you can think about contracting it with a co-contraction through the big toe. So it really carries over to gait and other movements. So again, about 90 degrees, this height might be a little bit different. The pad's nice because it's a little bit more comfortable instead of digging into a hard surface. I'm gonna put this through here, and then I'm just going to start off with everything looking relatively symmetrical. If you have someone who actually looks like one side's a little bit higher, maybe we cue them to just let it kind of come down a little bit, but what should really happen is through the breathing, you should start to see those things level out relatively. So first thing, neck is relaxed. I want to just go into some nice good inhale through the nose. Start off with a more relaxed exhale, but make sure that your exhales are full, meaning that you get to empty every single time. As the person gets more comfortable with those exhales, we actually want them to hold their breath for maybe as long as 5 seconds on the exhale. What that's going to do is it's going to allow the body to really contract their core and really keep everything nice and locked in and make them comfortable there. So you're taking them out of that extension position, or you're closing that one side even more and then having them actually maintain it instead of just getting there and coming back, getting there and coming back. The goal here is once that position is achieved where we're actually pulled down more on that one side closing the left, or even just getting out of the extension, your air should start to go into your sides and your back almost automatically. For a lot of people, it's a light bulb moment. So try to think about really filling up sides and back and then letting a little bit of air into the front, but for the most part, it's really staying down and locked in. As we talked about, flattening out your lower back is definitely an option, and really digging hamstrings in and lifting the butt up is kind of the standard way to do it. But just think that it is perfectly fine if you're able to lock down the front to have a natural curve in your spine. So both of those are options. Now, with this example, we're going to go ahead and kind of go right into what we're talking about. That would be level one, would just be kind of breathing through this and getting used to it, getting a light squeeze on the ball. I have my big toes on the wall, foot's on the wall, and I'm thinking about driving down. And again, you can lift the pelvis up. Now to take that a step further, what I'd want to do is try to get a little bit of a weight shift into one side. So for our example, this person's probably going to need a little bit of that left hamstring to fire up. So what I can do is once they've locked all this in with their breathing, I can add some reaching, I can reach here. Any of those variations are fine. I can keep my chin down. And then what I can do is as I'm driving in, I can lift up my right foot. So I remove a base of support. I'm still lightly squeezing in so that I can keep everything here instead of letting it fall out. But I'm really now using a really good contraction, that left hamstring, and even some of my adductor to really pull that into the pelvis and then keep that tension in the core. So I can do a 10-second hold, then I can come down. For a lot of people, they might cramp. It might be the first time even feeling that. We might need to go ahead and give them a second, then come back into it. Someone else might be able to do 10 sets of 5-second holds. As always, it's a progressive overload situation, and at a certain point, we'd want them to just do regular hamstring exercises and get out of this so they're not in that kind of rehab feedback loop. So that's one option that we can really keep that there. Do some holds and really own that left hamstring, kind of align things up. Once they're feeling this and they're able to kind of master this, then when we go back into our pails and rails that are administered for IR or ER or whatever it might be, getting that better positioning of the rib cage and the pelvis will actually improve the outcome of those pails and rails. Those things don't happen in opposites. So if you don't have this, you're probably not going to do too well with your IR stuff. So think about that in terms of a little bit of a secret weapon to make your FRC progress go even further. If you have any questions about that one, definitely let us know.